A very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Steven Machado.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Cabinet approves closure of 33 state-owned enterprises, including Mihin Lanka, Salandiva and Lanka Logistics. New police unit to combat crime. Hallalua remanded again. Shashendra's bail hearing postponed. Concessions given to MPs who claimed housing damage during the Aragalaya and received Viatpura apartments revoked. VAT on non-resident digital services deferred. Electricity workers begin work to rule action tonight.
In your top story tonight, approval has been granted by the Cabinet of Ministers to systematically wind down 33 state-owned enterprises that are currently non-operational, including Mihin Lanka, Salandiva and Lanka Cement, under a two-phase process. Now, this decision follows the review of a Cabinet memorandum presented by the President.
Salandiva Investments, which was initially tasked by the Gotabaya Rajapaksa administration with attracting investors for high-value state-owned properties such as Hilton Colombo, Grand Hyatt and the Grand Oriental Hotel, had also proposed bringing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs building under its purview for potential investment. Mihin Lanka, launched under the Mahinda Rajapaksa government, continued to incur losses and is now among the entities approved for closure. The Expressway Transport Company, a subsidiary of the Road Development Authority that operated over 20 buses on expressways, is also included in the list of enterprises to be dissolved. Additionally, Lanka Logistics, which operated under the Ministry of Defence and was responsible for the procurement of arms and defence equipment, has also been approved for closure. Other entities on the closure list include Asian Games Private Limited, Turusavia Fund, Commonwealth Games Hambantota Private Limited, Magampura Port Management Company, Technopark Development Company, Media Training Institute and Lanka Cement, among others.
මහජන සේවා සැපයීම සහ උපාය මාර්ගික ආර්ථික ක්‍රියාකාරකම් ප්‍රවර්ධනය කිරීම වැනි.
Many of these enterprises were established with the intention of delivering public services or promoting strategic economic activities. However, due to their misalignment with the current national priorities and market demands, as well as poor financial performance, they have become inactive. These institutions, ranging from statutory bodies to state-owned enterprises, no longer contribute meaningfully to the national economy or the public service delivery. Maintaining them has become a financial burden to the state. Therefore, the government has identified closure as the most practical course of action.
එම ආයතන ඈවර කර වසා දැමීම යෝග්‍ය වන බවට හඳුනාගෙන තියෙනවා.
ශ්‍රී ලංකන් එක සම්බන්ධයෙන් මොකක් හරි එහෙම අවධානයක් යොමු කරලා තිබෙනවා.
ඒක අපි ඉතින් රුපියල් බිලියන 20ක් මෙවර අය වෙනුත් වෙන් කරලා
We've allocated 20 billion rupees in this year's budget to support Sri Lankan Airlines. We are making every effort to stabilize and uplift the airline. Management reforms have already been implemented and the relevant ministries is actively involved. The Ministry of Finance is also paying close attention to the matter. We believe that with the growth of the tourism sector, there is significant potential to develop the airline further. The government is committed to intervening decisively to restore its viability.
දැඩි මැදිහත්වීමක් රාජ්‍ය මගින් කරනවා ඒ තත්ත්වයෙන් ගොඩ ගැනීම සඳහා.
The newly established Central Criminal Investigation Bureau of the Sri Lanka Police was officially inaugurated in Narahimpita. The unit has been set up within the premises of the old Labour Department building in Narahimpita.
The newly established Central Criminal Investigation Bureau, or CCIB, will operate under 6 specialized divisions. Illegal asset investigations covering cases valued between 25 million rupees and 50 million rupees, homicide and organized crime investigations, cybercrime investigations, human trafficking and smuggling investigations, maritime crime investigations, and criminal intelligence and analysis. The CCIB will function under the supervision of Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police Ranmal Kurithuakku. The director of the bureau is SP Kamalari Avangsar. The inauguration ceremony was attended by Minister of Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs Anand Vijaypala, Inspector General of Police and Attorney at Law Priyantha Veerasurya, along with others.
මේ රටේ ජනයා ඈත පිරිසර පළාත්වල ඉඳලා CID එක හොයාගෙන එනවා. අපි මේ CID එකට එන
People from remote areas of the country travel all the way to CID in search of justice. We are at a point where we must reduce the overwhelming number of complaints received by the CID, currently around 60,000. Through this newly established CCIB, all complaints will be streamlined via the Inspector General of Police and directed to the appropriate divisions. Our goal is to create an efficient investigative process across the country. Once a complaint reaches this bureau, investigations will begin promptly. Provincial crime investigation units have already been set up to support this structure. I believe this strategic initiative will help the state combat crime effectively and foster social reform.
රට තුල ඇති කරන්න මේ සිදු කරන ලද ව්‍යුහාත්මක වෙනස ප්‍රයෝජනවත් වෙයි කියලා මම විශ්වාස කරනවා.
Case file.
Former director of the National Lotteries Board, Thusita Halolua, has been remanded until the 18th of September in connection with allegations that he orchestrated a staged shooting targeting his own vehicle, purportedly to discredit the government and the president. The suspect was produced before the Colombo Additional Magistrate Lahiru Silva today, who ordered his continued remand following submissions made by the prosecution.
Delivering the order on a bail request, the magistrate stated that the prosecution had presented reasonable grounds to believe that the suspect could interfere with ongoing investigations. It was also noted that his actions could potentially obstruct the course of justice. The magistrate emphasized that granting bail under such circumstances would undermine confidence in the suspect's willingness to cooperate with investigators. Accordingly, the bail application was rejected and the suspect was ordered to be remanded once again. Meanwhile, a separate bail application filed to prevent the arrest of attorney-at-law Dinesh Dodangoda, who was reportedly travelling in the vehicle with Halolua at the time of the alleged incident, was also taken up in court. Representing Dodangoda, his counsel informed the court that the Court of Appeal had issued an interim order on Wednesday preventing his client's arrest. The defence requested for a date for the current case until a final decision is delivered in the appeal. After considering the submissions, the magistrate scheduled the next hearing for the 25th of September.
Case file.
Former State Minister Shashindra Rajapaksa, currently in remand custody over allegations of violating the Public Property Act, has filed a bail application before the Colombo High Court. The application was taken up before High Court Judge Lanka Jayaratna, who scheduled the next hearing for the 2nd of October to verify the relevant facts. The charges relate to an incident involving a building constructed without authorization on land belonging to the Mahavali Authority in the Sevanagala area. The property was reportedly damaged during the Aragale unrest, and the former minister is accused of pressuring officials to claim compensation amounting to 8.85 million rupees for the destroyed assets.
Case file.
The Colombo High Court has scheduled the 10th of October to hear the case under the Public Property Act against former ministers Mahinda Nanda Alutgamage, Nalin Fernando and former Sports Ministry Secretary, retired Major General Nanda Mallavarachi. The case was taken up before Colombo High Court Judge Manjula Tilakaratna. At the hearing, the two former ministers, both of whom are currently serving prison sentences, were produced before the open court by prison officials. However, retired Major General Nanda Mallavarachi was not present. His legal counsel submitted a medical report citing illness as the reason for his absence. The counsel requested that his client be allowed to appear only after the trial proceedings commence due to his current health condition. Similarly, President's counsel Sanjay Rajaratnam, appearing for Nalin Fernando, also requested that his client be permitted to appear only after the trial begins. He argued that media coverage of the proceedings could cause distress and discomfort to the accused's family and associates. Judge Tilakaratna emphasized that according to the Code of Criminal Procedure, all accused must be present in court during trial proceedings except in exceptional circumstances. The judge rejected the request made on behalf of Nalin Fernando and ordered that the accused be present at every hearing. The request made on behalf of Nanda Mallavarachi was also rejected, with the judge stating that the medical documentation provided was insufficient to confirm the accused's illness. The case pertains to allegations that between the 1st of September and 31st of December 2014, the accused misused 3.9 million rupees in public funds during the procurement of 14,000 carom boards and 14,000 drafts boards for sports clubs. The two former ministers are currently serving 25-year prison sentences in connection with a separate bribery case filed by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption.
Case file.
The Colombo High Court today ordered that the case filed by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption against former Minister Chandrani Bandara be called up once again, setting the next hearing for the 23rd of September. When the case was taken up before High Court Judge Sahan Mapa Bandara, the counsel representing the Bribery Commission requested court permission to amend the charge sheet. The request was granted by the judge. Following the court's approval, the judge directed the defence to file any preliminary objections after receiving copies of the amended charge sheet. The original indictment, filed on the 6th of June before the Colombo High Court, accuses Bandara of engaging in corrupt practices by appointing close associates to various positions during her tenure as Minister of Women and Child Affairs and Dry Zone Development under the Good Governance Administration. At the time of the initial filing, the court ordered her release on two sureties of 1 million rupees each.
The Cabinet has decided to revoke the housing concessions previously granted to members of Parliament who claimed their residences were damaged during the Aragalaya protests. These concessions were related to apartments at the Viyatpura housing complex located on the Veeramawatha Pannipitiya. Due to the concessionary scheme, the Urban Development Authority incurred a financial loss exceeding 92 million rupees.
On the 9th of May 2022, following the unrest, Cabinet approval was granted on the 4th of July 2022 to provide 101 apartments at the Viyatpura complex on a rental basis for 1 year to MPs who claimed their homes were damaged. Subsequently, on the 15th of July 2024, the Cabinet approved a proposal to allow these MPs to purchase the apartments under a concessionary scheme. Under this scheme, apartments that were sold to the general public at prices ranging from 15.5 million rupees to 22 million rupees were offered to MPs at reduced prices at a minimum of 13.34 million rupees and at a maximum of 18.21 million rupees. The payment structure allowed MPs to pay 25% upfront, with the remaining amount payable over 15 years at an annual interest rate of 10%. By the 31st of December 2024, 29 former MPs had paid the initial 25% of the sale price under this scheme.
Due to this concessionary mechanism, the UDA suffered a loss of 92.126 million rupees, which remains unrecoverable. Therefore, the Cabinet has approved the proposal presented by the Minister of Urban Development, Construction and Housing to immediately revoke the concessionary scheme. If the 29 MPs agree, they will be allowed to purchase the apartments under the same pricing and terms offered to the general public.
රක්ෂණ වන්දිත් ලබාගෙන තියෙනවා. ඊට අමතරව ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ හානි වෙච්ච දේපල වලටත් වන්දි ලබාගෙන තියෙනවා. දැන් මෙතනිනුත් මේ නිවාස වලනුත් සහනයක් ලබාගෙන තියෙනවා.
ඒ മന്ത്രിවරු තමන්ගේ නිවාස හානි වුණායයි පවසමින්
Whether these MPs received insurance payouts or other housing elsewhere is currently being investigated by the Criminal Investigation Department. That matter does not fall under the purview of the Housing Ministry. Our focus is to ensure a uniform housing policy for all citizens.
බලන්නේ මේ වෙලාවේදී හැමෝටම පොදු ක්‍රමවේදයක් යටතේ නිවාස ලබා දෙන්න.
ඒ තීරණය මත වෙනත් ප්‍රතිරූප දක්වමින් පවතින රජයට එරෙහි වෙන්න වේදිකාවක් නිර්මාණය වෙනව නේද?
අපි කටයුතු කරන්නේ ජනවරම අනුව.
We act according to the public mandate. Holding ministerial or parliamentary office does not justify misuse of state resources. If a small group that previously enjoyed privileges feels aggrieved, that's not a reason to reverse our decisions. We expect their discomfort. If they weren't disturbed, that would be surprising. They may unite publicly, but we are not afraid. We will continue to act in line with the people's will.
ඒවට අපි බය වෙන දෙයක් නැහැ. අපි වැඩ කරන්නේ ජනවරම අනුව.
Newsfirst with the people.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposits. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability. A trusted place for your fixed deposits. Valuable FD, 10.25% for 15 months, 11% for 24 months. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability.
The implementation date for the value-added tax on digital services provided by non-resident suppliers through electronic platforms has been revised. Accordingly, the tax will come into effect from the 1st of April 2026.
Under the Value-Added Tax Amendment Act number 4 of 2025, from the 1st of October, digital services provided by non-residents are subject to VAT. However, several practical reasons were cited by non-resident digital service providers requesting additional time to comply with this requirement.
The Cabinet yesterday approved a proposal submitted by the President through the Minister of Finance and Economic Development to amend the VAT Amendment Act to postpone the implementation date of the relevant tax from the 1st of October 2025 to the 1st of April 2026. The necessary amendment procedures are already being drafted and will be incorporated into the draft of the VAT Amendment Act.
Simplified value-added tax or SVAT system will be abolished starting from the 1st of next month. Accordingly, the standard VAT system will be reinstated from the 1st of October. The SVAT mechanism was introduced in 2011, replacing the traditional VAT system. This change was prompted by large-scale VAT frauds that occurred during that period. SVAT was implemented due to widespread non-compliance in refund claims, delays in reimbursements to exporters and the economic impact these issues had on the country.
Actually, SVAT will be repealed with effect from October 1st, 2025. After that, we will moving from SVAT to standard VAT system, that is traditional VAT system. So according to that traditional VAT system, when we are making the payment for our purchases of goods, we have to pay VAT portion with that value. But for the SVAT system, it is not necessary to pay VAT portion to that supplier, but the credit voucher. So we have to give only the credit voucher and we can receive suspended tax invoice, and because of that, no cash involvements for that transactions within that RIP and RIS category if they are in that SVAT scheme. But after this new system, definitely they should pay taxes, the VAT portion to their supplier, and that for that VAT portion they should collect tax invoice, and through that tax invoice exporters can claim their refunds. So that refund will be issued based on their risk rating. Risk rating will be calculated by the Inland Revenue Department based on the compliance of the taxpayers. So that is mainly based on the compliance of the taxpayers, that means behavior of the taxpayers.
What is the difference?
For an example, if you want to purchase some item or goods or services from another person for 100 rupees, for that product you have to pay not only that 100 rupee, but VAT portion, that is 18% VAT portion also should be paid. But within that SVAT system, it is not necessary to pay that VAT portion, but you have to issue a credit note for that VAT portion. That means you can pay only 100,000 plus that VAT credit voucher. That is why we are talking that for that within that SVAT system, cash involvement is not there, but only the paper transaction. But after that, now we are going to deviate from that system. That means we are going to repeal SVAT system and we are going to introduce traditional VAT system. According to that traditional VAT system, when you are purchasing some item from another person, definitely you have to make the payment not only for the cost of that product or services, but VAT portion also should be paid, that is 18% VAT. That means when you are purchasing a product or services for 100 rupees, the total amount should be paid to that person is 118 rupees. After that, if you are a eligible exporter or eligible category, that means who are categorized under risk-based refund system, you should pay that 18% VAT portion to the supplier.
Under this new system, taxpayers will be evaluated based on their compliance history, including timely registration, accurate reporting, prompt return submissions, and payment behavior. Based on these criteria, taxpayers will be categorized into low, medium, or high risk.
Actually, SVAT will be abolished from October 1st, 2025, and risk-based refund system will be introduced from that date. So, risk-based refund system is a completely new thing to the Sri Lanka and to the Inland Revenue Department. So, how do we categorize how do we identify whether they are within that, how do we have to categorize their risk ratings based on the compliance of their taxpayers. So that means registration on due period, submission of their returns on time, and making their payments on time to the department, and their accurate reporting are the main criteria we are considered for calculation of their risk rating. So after that, after calculating their risk ratings, we are categorizing taxpayers into 3 categories, that is low, medium and high. So low category means we can issue their refunds without pre-verification. So if they are in the low or medium risk rating category, refunds can be issued without pre-verification but post-verification. But if they are in the high risk rating category, refunds will be issued after pre-verification. But even though they are in the low, medium or high risk rating categories, definitely refunds will be issued within 45 days. Based on their risk category, we are not going to consider the dates for the issuance of the refund.
A trusted place for your fixed deposits. Valuable FD 10.25% for 15 months, 11% for 24 months. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability.
The trade unions of the Ceylon Electricity Board are preparing to launch a trade union action, including a work to rule campaign starting from midnight today. This follows 16 demands, including issues related to the ongoing restructuring process of the board. Cabinet spokesperson Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa emphasized that the reforms are essential to ensure uninterrupted electricity supply and to transform the CEB into a profitable organization.
Under the Electricity Act, which came into effect on the 27th of August, the Ceylon Electricity Board has been restructured into 4 companies and employees are due to be assigned to these 4 entities. Reports indicate that the relevant letters regarding these assignments were sent to the employees yesterday. In protest against this restructuring process and claiming that employees' rights are being violated during its implementation, the trade unions of the CEB are set to launch a work to rule industrial action starting at midnight today. Several trade unions, including the CEB Nidahas Sevaka Sangamaya, the Podujana Progressive Workers Union and the Engineers Union, have already expressed support for the action.
During the work to rule campaign, employees will perform duties only within the hours assigned to them. As a result, attending to some breakdowns may be delayed, which could inconvenience the public. However, the purpose of this action is not to cause trouble for the public. We are simply requesting that the government review these issues and intervene in a reasonable manner.
This is the reaction of the cabinet spokesperson.
This is not the same as what was done by previous governments. What is being introduced now applies to 100% of state-owned enterprises. There is no need for anyone to panic. If you wish, there is also a mechanism already proposed for retirement with an adequate compensation package at the Ceylon Electricity Board. Action can be taken accordingly. Therefore, instead of holding on to outdated ideas and calling workers to strike for political reasons, I request that trade unions extend their constructive support at this moment when the Electricity Board is attempting to take a step forward. The upcoming session of the United Nations Human Rights Council is set to be one of the most intensive in recent memory, with over 70 reports scheduled for presentation by UN officials, experts, special rapporteurs, commissions of inquiry and other mechanisms. Speaking ahead of the session, Ambassador Jörg Lauber, President of the Council, commented on what to expect.
We will have the presentation of over 70 reports by UN officials, experts, special rapporteurs, commissions of inquiry and other mechanisms. In line with the measures that the Council agreed on in June, we will have to continue to implement limited technical adjustments to the program of work, some shortening of speaking time, some cutting off of number of delegations able to take the floor. These adjustments are designed to generate time and cost savings. Also, still on the Monday, the Council will look at the situation of human rights in Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Sudan, and address the situation in the Democratic Republic of the Congo the day after. We will have many country situations to look at throughout the session. We will have universal periodic review adoptions for more than a dozen states. And as usual, the last days of the Council are dedicated for the Council to adopt decisions, resolutions. Humanitarian needs are increasing, but we are not increasing the contributions to humanitarian organizations. We are limiting them, and we suffer the same here. Again, every crisis has an opportunity, and maybe this is the time where we need to look also in the Human Rights Council into what are the most urgent issues now.
On Monday, the 8th of August, the UN Human Rights Council will witness the interactive dialogue on the situation of human rights in Sri Lanka. Volker Turk of Austria, the current High Commissioner for Human Rights, is expected to open the ID with a statement on Sri Lanka. In August 2025, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights published an advanced version of the report on the situation of human rights in Sri Lanka. The report said that the new government has a historic opportunity and a clear mandate from communities across Sri Lanka to implement transformative reforms and deliver truth and justice, laying the foundation for sustainable peace. Ensuring accountability and addressing the root causes of the conflict are indispensable to realizing the government's vision of national unity and creating a society free from discrimination on grounds of race, ethnicity and religion. It added that at the same time, undertaking fundamental constitutional, legal and institutional reforms which comply with the country's international human rights obligations is essential to bringing about transformative changes. OHCHR, together with United Nations country team, continues to stand ready to assist Sri Lanka on this path. In one of its key recommendations, the OHCHR noted to apply a moratorium on the use of the Prevention of Terrorism Act, expedite its repeal and ensure that any replacement to legislation is consistent with international human rights law and the benchmarks previously set out by United Nations human rights experts.
The international community has acknowledged that the situation regarding democracy and human rights in Sri Lanka has evolved. This shift has been noted in the latest report by UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, which includes several key observations. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the government of Sri Lanka have taken these matters seriously and are currently reviewing them. A formal statement addressing these concerns is expected to be issued either ahead of or during the upcoming UN Human Rights Council session. Both the Minister of Justice and the Minister of Foreign Affairs have consistently reiterated the government's commitment in repealing the Prevention of Terrorism Act and replacing it with a new legislation that aligns with international standards. However, until the new law is enacted, the PTA may still be used for certain legal purposes.
4 more skeletal remains were discovered today at mass grave site in Chemmani, Jaffna.
The second phase of excavations at the Chemmani Sittupati Hindu Cemetery mass grave continued today for the 43rd day. The excavation activities were carried out under the supervision of Jaffna Additional Magistrate Selvanayagam Lenin Kumar. Meanwhile, a signature campaign demanding international justice for the mass graves and genocides in Sri Lanka's northern and eastern provinces, including Chemmani, was held today in Batticaloa. A signature campaign was held in front of the Gandhi Park in Batticaloa. Tamil nationalist parties and civil society organizations jointly organized this signature campaign.
Sri Lanka and the World Bank have discussed avenues to track and recover stolen assets during a meeting held in Vienna.
Justice Neeli Devara, chairman of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, met with senior representatives of the World Bank at the UN Secretariat in Vienna. The meeting took place on the sidelines of the second resumed 16th session of the UNCAC Implementation Review Group. The discussion centered on the proceeds of Crime Act No. 5 of 2025, a landmark law that empowers Sri Lankan authorities to trace, freeze, confiscate, manage and dispose of assets acquired through criminal activity, including corruption. Representatives Laura Pop, Neha Mariam Zyham and Emil Vanderdes de Villebois of the World Bank expressed strong interest in supporting the effective implementation of POCA, offering avenues for technical assistance and long-term collaboration. Sri Lanka has previously benefited from the World Bank's Stolen Asset Recovery Initiative, which supported the development of asset declaration laws, electronic systems for asset tracking and policy frameworks for proceeds of crime. This engagement underscores Sri Lanka's commitment to international cooperation, transparency and the rule of law in its fight against corruption.
Sri Lankan Tamil refugees who came to India before the 9th of January 2015 have been exempted by the Ministry of Home Affairs from penal provisions if found to be without passports, travel documents or visa.
The Hindu reported that while the Immigration and Foreigners Act 2025, which was enacted in April this year, had made the entry and stay of foreigners without passport or valid documents punishable by a fine of 500,000 rupees or up to 5 years imprisonment or both, the Sri Lankan Tamil refugees will not come under its ambit. The exemption would mean that Sri Lankan Tamils registered with the government will not be treated as undocumented migrants. The Immigration and Foreigners Act 2025 repealed and replaced 4 laws that determine the provision regarding entry and stay of foreigners and immigration. Prior to this, the MHA had issued an executive order on the 16th of December 2015 and decided to waive off the visa fee and overstay penalty pertaining to Sri Lankan refugees who came to the country prior to the 9th of January 2015 and who opt to voluntarily return to Sri Lanka.
Italy's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Maria Tripodi, met with Sri Lanka's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Vijitha Herath, this afternoon at the ministry premises.
The meeting focused on deepening cooperation between the two nations, with particular emphasis on trade, investment, tourism, migration and aviation connectivity. Both parties expressed a shared commitment to expanding economic and diplomatic engagement in mutually beneficial sectors. Minister Herath highlighted Sri Lanka's recent economic progress, political stability and the creation of a favourable environment for foreign investment. He also drew attention to the rapid growth of the tourism industry, inviting Italy to play a more active role in promoting travel and cultural exchange. The discussion also addressed the welfare of Sri Lankan migrant workers in Italy, with both sides exploring ways to improve their quality of life and ensure that their rights are protected. A key issue raised was the long-standing challenge faced by Sri Lankans in obtaining driver's licenses in Italy, with attention directed toward finding a practical resolution.
An event to commemorate Milad-un-Nabi, the birth of Prophet Muhammad, was held in Colombo, organized by the Colombo Municipal Council.
An event to mark Milad-un-Nabi, organized by the Colombo Municipal Council, was held in Colombo with community leaders, council members and residents. Mayor of Colombo, Rai Kelly Balthasar, was also present.
Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, introduced to the world the concept of a just society. A society that is built on fairness, on compassion, respect for diversity and the care for less fortunate. He taught us that leadership is not merely about authority, but it's about service. He established one of the earliest examples of a welfare state, where the rights of women, the rights of children who don't have parents. He established welfare state for those who were poor and also for non-Muslims who were safeguarded within these structures. In his vision, justice was not limited to one community, but extended to all. His covenant with the people of Medina ensured that Muslims and non-Muslims live together in peace, in harmony, and mutual respect. This is a very important reminder for all of us here in Colombo City. Our great city is home to people of many faiths and of many communities. Yet, we live side by side, respecting each other's beliefs, cultures and traditions. This harmony is a reflection of the spirit of the Prophet's message. Colombo can indeed be shown as an example of how the teaching of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, can inspire coexistence, can inspire compassion and can inspire social justice.
You are all here to show to the outside world and to exemplify Sri Lankans as such, irrespective of religion, race, culture, are a united people, and we shall certainly continue to do that. Your presence here is a living testimony. Testament to the spirit of coexistence and the solidarity that enriches our beloved land, Sri Lanka. Today being the birth of the birth of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, let us reflect on his teachings when it came to living in a multicultural, multi-pluralistic society. The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was called Rahmatul Alameen, a mercy to all mankind, not only to Muslims. He was a mercy to all mankind.
The event concluded with cultural performances and prayers, uniting attendees in a spirit of reflection and gratitude. Sadika Lakshani, the wife of organized criminal Bako Saman, was today ordered to be remanded until the 18th of September by Colombo Chief Magistrate Asanga S. Bodragama under provisions of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act.
At the time of the suspect's arrest, 40 pawned items in her possession, including gold-colored jewellery, gems and other precious stones, were also seized. The Colombo Chief Magistrate ordered that these be handed over to the Gem and Jewellery Authority for examination and a report. The suspect, who had been held in CID custody, was produced before court this evening.
The CPM Sri Lanka Management Leadership Excellence Awards ceremony took place in Colombo. At the event, Group Director and COO of the Capital Maharaja Group, SC Veerasekara, was honoured with 4 prestigious awards.
The CPM Sri Lanka Management Leadership Excellence Awards ceremony took place in Colombo yesterday. The award ceremony aims to recognize and honor outstanding business leaders and decision makers who have effectively transformed the company to drive growth and profitability. The event was graced by Senior Vice President for Postgraduate Offshore Campuses at Management and Science University of Malaysia, Professor Dr. Abdul Ali Khatibi. Group Director and Chief Operations Officer of the Capital Maharaja Group, SC Veerasekara, was honoured with the prestigious Overall Gold Award at the CPM Management Leadership Excellence Awards. In addition, Group Director and Chief Operations Officer of the Capital Maharaja Group, SC Veerasekara, was also recognized for the Outstanding Leadership Competency Award, Sustainability and Circular Economy Award and CSR Excellence Award, including the Turukapakaru Program, Plumber and Electrician Clubs and other community initiatives of the Eslon Lanka, PE Plus and Kevilton companies under the Capital Maharaja Group.
President Donald Trump said he is going to find out how good US relations are after a Chinese summit that included leaders of Russia and India. Speaking to reporters, Trump said his relationship with leaders of China, India and Russia are very good, but we are going to find out how good it is over the next week or two.
The watching world saw a significant display of diplomatic unity in Beijing today as China's Xi Jinping, Russia's Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un met in public for the first time. Alongside a vast military parade marking 80 years since the country's victory over Japan in World War II, the meeting formed part of a day of statements for Chinese President Xi Jinping. Crowds of over 50,000 in Tiananmen Square witnessed laser weapons, nuclear ballistic missiles and even robotic wolves, a display that will now be heavily scrutinized by Western defense officials. All but 2 Western leaders chose not to attend the parade, while 26 heads of state joined. Xi inspected the waiting ranks of thousands of troops from the roof of his state vehicle before warning in a speech that the world, quote, never return to the law of the jungle where the strong prey on the weak, end quote. US President Donald Trump said that he felt that the United States was slighted by China by not getting more of an acknowledgement for its role in winning World War II.
Well, I've already done that with regard to India, and we're doing it with regard to other things. And I put out a truth last night, you saw that, and I was the one that brought it up. I said they're only doing this, they're really there looking to, when they did what they did, I thought it was a beautiful ceremony. I thought it was very, very impressive. But I understood the reason they were doing it, and they were hoping I was watching, and I was watching. My relationship with all of them is very good. We're going to find out how good it is over the next week or two. I think that we helped China very much, as you know, when they talk about freedom. And I don't believe that, and maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe that America, that the United States was acknowledged for helping China to gain its freedom. But perhaps that was just that was a sleight of hand. I mean, I was very surprised. I watched the speech last night. President Xi is a friend of mine, but I thought that the United States should have been mentioned last night during that speech because we helped China very, very much.
US President Donald Trump has issued a thinly veiled threat to Russian President Vladimir Putin on Ukraine, warning of unspecified consequences if he is unhappy with Moscow's next steps in its conflict with Kiev. Speaking to reporters at the White House, Trump said he planned to talk to Putin in the coming days, but the Russian leader was aware of his administration's stance on the war.
What kind of message to Putin? What is your message to Putin? I have no message to President Putin. He knows where I stand, and he'll make a decision one way or the other. Whatever his decision is, we'll either be happy about it or unhappy. And if we're unhappy about it, you'll see things happen.
Russian President Vladimir Putin told Kiev on Wednesday that there was a chance to end the war in Ukraine via negotiations, quote, if common sense prevails, end quote. An option he said he preferred, but that he was ready to end it by force if that was the only way. Putin said earlier that Moscow had never opposed Ukraine's potential membership of the European Union and that he thought it was possible to find a consensus on ensuring the security of both Russia and Ukraine. Speaking in Beijing at the end of a visit that resulted in an agreement on a new gas pipeline to China, Putin said he perceived, quote, a certain light at the end of the tunnel, end quote. Given what he said were sincere efforts by the United States to find a settlement to Europe's biggest land war since World War II.
Back in 2022, we offered the Ukrainian authorities to respect the choice of the people living in southeastern Ukraine, withdraw their troops from there, and end this conflict immediately. I have to say that overall this wasn't completely rejected, but after we withdrew our troops from Kiev at the urgent request of our Western European colleagues, the situation immediately changed. And we were told now we will fight until either our heads fall or yours do. I do not remember if I ever said this publicly, but I sounded rough. Though in more vulgar terms, but quite openly in an oddly comradely manner, now it's either us or you. And so it goes on like this. Nevertheless, it seems to me that if common sense ultimately prevails, it is possible to agree on an acceptable way to end this conflict. And that is my standpoint, especially since we see the sentiments in the current US administration under President Trump. We see not just their calls, but their sincere desire to find this solution. And I think there is a certain light at the end of the tunnel. Let's see how the situation develops. If not, then we will have to solve all these tasks set before us by military means.
The Italian fashion designer and billionaire brand owner Giorgio Armani has died at the age of 91. He was the archetype of Italian style and elegance, reimagining men's and women's suits for a modern audience.
Armani, which began as a fashion company, expanded into music, sport, and even luxury hotels. He was also a revered businessman, with his company bringing in more than £2 billion a year. In a statement on the brand's Instagram page, it said Armani worked until his final days, dedicating himself to the company, the collections, and the many ongoing future projects. It added that he was indefatigable to the end. His funeral will be private, the group said, but well-wishers can pay respects beforehand at a funeral chamber open on Saturday and Sunday in Milan. The Italian icon was credited with inventing red carpet fashion, but also moved into a younger and less expensive range through Emporio Armani and open luxury hotels. His death came just weeks ahead of celebrations marking 50 years of his eponymous label. Travel and Tour World reports that Sri Lanka joined the list of most visited countries in August 2025, welcoming nearly 200,000 foreign tourists with strong contributions from India, UK, Germany and China.
Happy headlines. Sri Lanka's tourism sector continues its upward momentum, with 198,235 international visitors arriving in the country during the month of August. This marks a 20.4% increase compared to August last year, signaling growing global confidence in Sri Lanka as a travel destination. Travel and Tour World, or TTW, is a prominent B2B digital media platform and trade network that delivers news, trends and insights for the global travel, tourism, hospitality, cruise and airline industries. TTW said that this impressive increase not only demonstrates Sri Lanka's resilience, but also solidifies its position as a premier travel destination in South Asia. It added that the tourism industry in Sri Lanka is also benefiting from strong marketing campaigns targeting specific international markets, noting that the government's focus on sustainability and ecotourism, alongside its commitment to preserving its cultural heritage, has further positioned Sri Lanka as a top destination for responsible tourism. The country has increasingly become a go-to location for travelers interested in sustainable travel experiences, with a wide range of eco-friendly resorts, wildlife sanctuaries and nature-based activities on offer. As Sri Lanka continues to recover and strengthen its tourism sector, the outlook for the remainder of 2025 remains promising, with steady growth in arrivals from traditional markets as well as increasing interest from emerging markets. Sri Lanka is well on its way to becoming one of the top tourist destinations in South Asia.
Happy headlines.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Steven Machado.
I'm Navik Shagunasekar. Thank you and good night.